Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining us online. Welcome to this evening's meeting of the South of the Borough Neighbourhood Committee. A warm welcome to the two of you that have braved the traffic. Thank you very much, and very diligent. And to those of us that are watching online. My name is Councillor Helen Grocott, and I'm the chair of this committee. So in the event of an emergency and a fire, which we are not expecting, the evacuation procedure is to leave by one of the fire exits and gather in the car park at the front of this building. Anyone requiring assistance should remain in their seats, and if Ollie's still here, he'll help them. Or if not, somebody else. So anyone who wishes to follow the agenda from their tablet or smartphone can do so by going to our website and follow the links from your council. This meeting has been filmed for broadcast on our council's YouTube channel, and an archived version will be available to view on the channel shortly after the meeting finishes. The broadcast will be suspended during any adjournments and proceedings, and if the committee resolves to consider information as exempt business. We all know that we need to have a microphone switched on, and the one there is already switched on, so that residents don't need to worry about it. Please make sure your mobile phones are switched off, and I'm going to go from left to right. Everyone on the panel, please introduce yourselves, starting with yourself. Thank you.
Acting Sergeant Ollie Shearer, Met Police.
Good evening, Richard Dean, Neighbourhood Manager, South of the Borough.
Hello, Councillor Mark Bainan, King George's and Sunray Ward.
Good evening, Lorraine Dunstone, Councillor for Hook and Chessington North.
Good evening, Councillor Sue Ansari, Chessington North and Hook.
Kevin Jones, Democratic Services.
And I'm the other councillor for King George's and Sunray.
Hello, Hafia Filaka, Councillor for Hook and Chessington North.
Good evening, Andreas Kirsch, Councillor for Chessington South and Morden Rushett.
Good evening, Councillor Shahrukh Mirza, also Councillor for Chessington South and Morden Rushett.
George Vickers, Principal Engineer for Plan Maintenance and Traffic Orders for the Kingston Sutton Shared Service.
Yunus Hamadi, Principal Engineer, Highways, Kingston Council.
It's so good you had to say it twice. So before we proceed to agenda business, I would just like the committee to know, and you guys to know, that Elliot Newton, our amazing council's biodiversity officer, is leaving at the end of this month. Exactly. I know, we're all very sad. So Elliot is well known to all of us, as many volunteers and residents will also know. He's done lots of work on green spaces, parks, nature reserves, and specifically for us in this area, Tolworth Court Farm Fields, the rewilding project. But do not fear, because he has been recruited to be their lead biodiversity officer. I think it's more important than that, his title, but he's moving over to Citizen Zoo to be their rewilding expert. So he's still going to be involved in Tolworth Court Farm Fields and the project, but just from the other side. So we're really happy about this for our borough. And in the meantime, Stuart, what's his surname? No. I've forgotten his surname, but Stuart, who leads up the Green Spaces team, will be acting on Elliot's behalf in terms of any current tenders that are going through for Tolworth Court Farm Fields. So if you're listening, Elliot, we're going to miss you, and thank you for everything you've done. And your accessor is always going to have a very hard act to follow, but we're excited to find out who that will be in time. So we're going to move on to formally item 1, public questions. We have a written question, but the person's not here, and I understand, Sue, that you've got a couple of questions. So please go ahead. Thank you.
I've got a friend who lives in Stormont Way, and he pointed out an article that came up on Facebook or somewhere that there was an incident at the fire gate when an ambulance couldn't get through. He wanted to know if the council are fully aware of it and if action is being taken so that the residents around there can be reassured, please.
Thank you very much, Sue. A really important question about resident safety. So yes, we are aware, and I'm going to ask Lorraine if she wants to say something first, and then Richard's got something to say, and then we're going to pass over to you, Eunice, for the final. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue. Yes, I raised it as an issue. I've spoken to the gentleman's daughter, actually, and I've raised that with Richard, so actually I'll pass over to Richard to let us know what's being done and what we may be able to do.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor. So, yeah, an important issue, and reassurance is the most important thing. Right. So, I got in touch with the 3 blue light services, being the fire brigade, the ambulance, and the police, in the form of Ollie. And obviously, they all use slightly different dispatch systems. So, as far as the police are concerned, and correct me, Ollie, if you're here and I've got it wrong, their dispatch system will show a sort of dotted line across if they're going to a call, so they'll know that there's some obstruction there and they can't get down the line. I think it's probably safe that most of the officers will probably be on their Google Maps anyway, and that will bring me on to another point in a second. The London Fire Brigade, I'm reassured, are equipped both with keys and other methods to open a fire gate if they need to do so in an emergency, and they won't let anything as simple as that stop them. So we're all right with them. The ones that we're a little bit concerned about that haven't got keys, because they're coming from wider afield, if you like, they don't seem to hold them, are the ambulance service, and obviously this reflects it in this call. So I've had a screenshot sent to me of an ambulance being called to that address, if you like, of 2 sat-navs, and it effectively sends it to different ways depending on how close you are and what side of the fire gate you are. So they're going to look at that for me to see if they can do anything around their processes to reassure, and I had a conversation yesterday with Eunice, that the process for the council when there's a variation in a road accessibility of any sort is that we notify something called the London Gazetteer, and then it goes on a process, and that's what all the mappings go to, so the people like Google Map and everything like that. And Eunice and I looked on Google Map, and it's very, very clear that you can't get through on that. So it appears within all of this that the only issue at all is if an ambulance is called, which was that case. So there's 2 ways. They're going to look at it. I've got reassurance the ambulance service are going to look at it. So residents in south of Borough and across London actually need to be reassured this is the case. And the one bit of information I would give, and hopefully Ollie would agree, and it's difficult at times of stress, but if you're calling for an emergency service using the 999 system, then if you live close to, or you know that there's an obstruction that would stop an emergency vehicle getting to you, whilst it might take a nanosecond longer, please just say, and you can't come that way because of a fire gate or because of any obstruction in the way. It is quicker in the long run. The only other method I could think other than the response I've given you, Chair, is I do know we have the chair of the Kingston Partnership, the Safe Kingston Partnership, of which obviously the Fire Brigade, the Ambulance Service and the Police have senior representation at, and it may be if the residents and or the committee sought additional reassurance on this matter that we would like through the chair to ask the question as well in that forum for a formal reply. Thank you.
Yes, I think I will take that to Kingston Partnership. When Councillor Dunstone spoke to me, I also think we could, I'm a member of the Health Overview Scrutiny Panel, and I will ask this question there as well. So it can be taken away from that aspect as well, because that deals with health, because I think this is a really important thing that we need to make sure everybody knows and that there's a clear answer, and we can bring that back via our, what's it called, decisions progress update table. So we'll make sure that the answer is written on here so it's in the minutes.
I think my friend lives halfway down there and he's in good health, but he was just rather concerned seeing it come up on Facebook. So
of course.
It's a good opportunity to ask, so thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sorry, Eunice, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I think what Richard said, absolutely right. However, I'm just anxious about this gate has been there for a good number of years, and it is the first time I've heard that. So I would like to investigate further about that. Is that really what happened, or there is more into it? Because we are putting all this, but let's find out the true picture of what's happening, and whatever we can do to address it, we will work on that. But for me, it's really, I'm rather surprised it's happening, because that gate we closed with a good number of years, and that is the first time I've heard of it.
We'll do a bit of an investigation as well as part of that. Yeah, thank you, Sue. And then I think, do you have another question?
Yeah.
Sorry, Chair, just 2
Yeah.
seconds, if I could butt in, it might save some time. My sort of initial investigation, I've got the email trail from both the ambulance service, the fire brigade and the police, it is exactly that an ambulance was called to the address and they were unaware of the presence at that time of a fire gate. So, as you say, Eunice, it's been there a long, long time. This is the first time, but I think maybe, as I say, the Safer Kingston Partnership might be the forum that the senior people in those organisations could ask the question why and then come back to us, maybe, rather than us do something else. I think we at an operational sort of level have done all we can.
Yeah, I think you're right, and there might be that it's a training issue that they need to just review their end as well. Okay, great. So we don't need that, Eunice. Thank you very much for offering, and thank you for doing that initial legwork, Richard. Okay, thanks, Sue.
Yeah, I was trying to find on the council website the details for tonight's meeting, and going through south of the borough, everything but came up. You have to go via council and then calendar. You can't just say calendar and you can't just say south of the borough. But what did come up under south of borough was that on the 9th of February 2022, John Sweeney announced plans were being made for a swimming pool in the south of the borough at the Chessington Leisure Centre. I just wonder what happened to the plans, because that also came up 4 years previously. So is there going to be a swimming pool in the south of the borough, or is this just going to be a promise made every election?
Thank you for that question, Sue. I'm looking at Councillor Kirsch. Would you like to take that? Thank you. We are very fortunate in that we just happen to have the leader of the council sitting to my right.
And my neighbour.
Thank you, Chair. No, thanks for your question, Sue. We are not where we wanted to be with the schedule, but it's still under consideration. We had a couple of obstacles to, where initially we thought the site might fit. Didn't turn out. We looked for doing it basically next to the railway. Initially it was thought between the two buildings, but that's too small between the railway. That has challenges with the two schools and getting access. So we're still in conversations with the schools, and we still look, overall at the plans. So the project is still alive, but it's not in a stage which we would love it to be, but it's still live. We're still working on it, and as soon as there's any progress, we will give an update and see if if it develops into proper business case and we can move ahead, or if the obstacles are too great. But at this moment in time, we are looking to overcome the obstacle and challenges which the site brings with itself.
Thank you. I do miss going swimming. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Councillor Kirsch. Okay, so we move on to item 2, which is petitions. We have no notice of any intention to submit. We have no petitions received, so we can move directly on to item 3, which is apologies for absence. Kevin, do we have any apologies?
We have apologies from Councillor Griselda Kirsch.
Thank you very much. So we move on to item 4, declarations of interest. So I'm bound to say members are invited to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests or any other registrable or non-registrable interests relevant to items on this agenda. Do any members have any interests they wish to declare? No. Thank you very much. So then we move on to item 5, which are the minutes. Can members agree to confirm the minutes of this meeting held last on the 4th of December 2024 as a correct record? Thank you very much. We are the 22nd? 25. Thank you very much. So I'd like to move on to item 6, which is our community police update, and I'm going to ask Acting Sergeant Ollie Shearer to present his verbal report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll start off with some crime statistics comparing to our last meeting about 6 weeks ago, wasn't it? So last I spoke, burglary was down. It remains quite low with only 1s and 2s across the wards since we last met. I was a little bit concerned last meeting with our motor vehicle crimes, our theft of motor vehicle and our theft from motor vehicles. Since our last meeting and since a little bit of police action, they're way down. We've barely had any, and the ones we have had, we've noted no trains amongst them. Drugs offences, we still don't really get any around here. Robberies, we've had none, and I think it's worth noting that on King George's and Sunray Ward, last time I went through some statistics for a meeting, we'd had no burglaries, theft of motor vehicles, theft from motor vehicles, robberies or drugs offences since at least November. So that's always positive. Some updates across my team. We've had a new joiner, Victoria, for King George and Sunray Ward. She's got off to a great start so far, which brings us up to still 2 pieces short. Good work that's been going on the past 6 weeks or so. We've had an arrest of a repeat shoplifter from Chessington Garden Centre. Following our concerns about motor vehicle crime, we did a joint op with Epsom Police, getting our traffic involved, getting their traffic involved, and just spending a night going around, crossing over our borders and getting into a fair few chases. Since then, that's when we've noticed our motor vehicle crime drop off, so we're happy that might have contributed to that, and that's something we're going to be looking to replicate again and again and again, if that's what it takes to keep it down. New Year's Eve was a very busy shift for the team, all finishing at about 8 o'clock in the morning, but again, it's worth noticing, I don't think we had to come up here once, so thank you to our residents for behaving yourselves. Lydia from our team attended a licensing hearing for Victoria News with some strong objections from our local residents. They did not want that licence extended, and I think everyone was quite happy to see that, well, we got a good result on that one. Our mobile police station proved a hit with some residents when we took that out, and lots of excited children climbing in and out of it and trying on hats. And we're looking to do a few more upcoming traffic jobs with our safer transport team. That's it from me.
Thank you. Do members have any questions or comments for Ollie? Thank you. Councillor Ansari and then Councillor Kirsch.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, thanks for that, Ollie. Oh, God, it's gone right on my question there. Oh, yeah, about the traffic jobs. What are they going to be and where are they going to... Can you say yet?
We're still planning them.
Right.
I won't say when, because that's when everyone will slow down for the day. But they'll be around speeding. They'll be around speeding and around areas where we've had recent concerns.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
May I just ask a supplemental? Can you email me about that, because I have a specific request, please? Thank you. Councillor Kirsch.
Thank you, Chair. No, thanks, Ollie, for the report and the update. And again, I mean, the report speaks for itself. You know, we're really one of our areas, also Borough is one of the safest areas. And thank you so much, and the team, for keeping us safe.
Thank you. And it would be great if Victoria could introduce herself to Mark and I at some point. I didn't even know she'd started. So it would be really lovely to meet her.
I'll take an email.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions or comments? No. Okay, thank you very much. You're free to stay, or you're probably very busy, so you're to go. Thank you very much. Thanks. Okay, so moving on to item 7, please, the decision update progress. So you can find this in Appendix A. So this is the sheet that we've left on your tables as well. There's some copies for residents. And this is one of the new items that we've introduced in the last couple of months to ensure that any decisions we have updates on. There is a photo, there was a photo on the screen. There we go. That shows the new porter cabins in place at the Sharing Lives for at the King Centre. Members will remember that we allocated £15,000 to pay for the new foundations for this project, so I'm really pleased to see that that's been progressed and that this is for the men's shed, so they have more availability to do the excellent work that they do to prevent or to increase social cohesion and to prevent mental health and isolation. So we're really pleased about that. Kevin, I've got a question to ask. Can you check for me with the NSIL funding that we had for King Edward's playing fields for the tennis court? I think that's been in the last... I don't think that's here. So I think that was in the last municipal year. No, that's Tolworth Court Farm Fields. So I think we had an NSIL award for King Edward's playing fields, and I've had a couple of inquiries about the progression of that. So if we could link up with Stuart. You can, but I think I want it in here as well. Yeah, but I'm very happy for you to give an update. Thank you.
So the court has been cleared and the fencing has been put up and the initial layer on the floor has been put up. So it's actually usable now and people can use the tennis courts. There will be another layer going over when in the springtime for the base of the courts, but that can't be put on until it's dry. So that will wait until spring, but it is ready up and being used.
Wonderful. And Kevin, when you get the update, can you link up with Stuart because he's got some additional points in relation to specific inquiries from one of our residents' associations. Thank you, Councillor Dunstan. Okay, so we're going to move on now to item 8, which is Community Manager's Report. You'll find that in Appendix B. It's very short today. And Richard, if you could please introduce it, and then we'll ask if anyone's got any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just to say, I was down at the Kingston today and popped into to the men's shed, and they're just busy beavering away now doing the inside shelving and fitting out. And I know that wasn't part of the initial NSIL grid bid, beg pardon, that this committee gave the money for, but it'll be really good next time. Hopefully by March I'll be able to bring some pictures of the inside so you can see the complete piece as well. So. Right, as you rightly say, for once I shall be short and to the point. We've got a summary of ranger activity for 2024 and a rather nervous 1313 number of incidents, 1,313, which take away the administration and the stuff around vehicles for South of the Borough. Looks like ostensibly fly tipping and graffiti removal and supporting other services. Whether it be recipients of grant or other RBK services. I've mentioned sometimes the assistance we give to highways, but it's highways and byways and everyone else. So moving fitness equipment around for venues for public health, etc. So as you see, that effectively the trend has stayed the same with the top 3 all the way around, and with little variation in numbers. That's the same across all neighbourhoods, if I'm honest with you. And yes, I'll be quiet and invite questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do members have any questions for Richard? I have a comment, please. Can we have some of the lovely photos that are diligently collected to show the before and after of the graffiti? Because I think it would be really good to showcase the work that you do, and we've got photographic evidence as chairs that we asked for, so why not utilise that work?
Certainly, you've been speaking to the Serbian far too much, Chair.
Do you know, I haven't actually. I did that all off my own head.
Can I just, before I forget, actually, one of the other things I meant to say around men's health that has just started in South of the Borough by a charity called the Proper Blokes Club. It can be looked up online. But they ostensibly run walking activities for men who just want to pop along and chat about anything and everything. It's been hugely successful. They've done it in Surbiton. So I'll leave a couple of posters. They are on the notice boards in South of the Borough, certainly towards the bottom end. And yes, I'll be talking about them quite often. So.
Thank you. And right, Councillor, you go first, and I'll go.
Yeah, thank you for the work that you do, that the Rangers do around this. I think I've picked this up before in terms of the graffiti and the amount of, frequency of graffiti and what we can do to ensure that this is reduced, because, for example, with the fly tipping, and I still know that it's still, we have high frequency of it. We know that there are fines. People know that if they are caught, they'll be fined. As a borough or as a neighbourhood area, just thinking what can be done around this, because if there is nothing put in place, no measure, it will just continue to grow. You're
absolutely right, Councillor. graffiti is criminal damage. It's defacing someone's property. It doesn't belong to them unless there's a licensed graffiti wall, of which there are none in Kingston, let alone south of the borough. Then people are causing damage and they can be arrested. So if they were caught by the police, they could be arrested, or if, as we've done previously, in Serban, actually, to some success, there was a tag that came up at a particular venue many times, and the rangers then linked in where they were finding that, gave the information, if you like, in the form of community intelligence to the police, and the police effected an arrest. So where we get a trend, we do share the information. I share the information with Ollie, and if there's any opportunity to arrest someone or intervene to reduce that, then we will do so.
Have a supplementary, go for it.
Yeah, just also thinking along the same line, is there a possibility of having some exposure, exposing our community to the repercussion of this? I'm not sure a lot of people know it's criminal offence as well. How can we publicise to ensure that the community are aware that this, for example, with the fly tipping, we know there is the display around the borough to say, if you do this, you're going to be fined £100 or so. Maybe we have something like that, or we think along that line. Thank you.
I think I'll take away an action to have a conversation with Ollie about what we can do together around that. Obviously, the enforcement agency, effectively, are the police in this case for a criminal damage offence. So, yeah, let's look. We can probably design some sort of poster, do a presentation here, design a poster for the notice boards just along the information. Do you realise what you're doing isn't fun, is a criminal offence, that sort of thing. So, yeah, if you put that as an action for me, Kevin, I'll report back.
Thank you.
I think we could also get Steph's team, the antisocial behaviour team, involved, because that's also a big part of their work, isn't it? Now, leading on from that a little bit, I also just wanted to have a plug for the new youth group that's opened in south of the borough, in my ward, actually. So we've got the existing one that's in Chessington, and last Thursday, we had the new youth group opening in Tolworth, which is taking place at the Sunray Community Centre. It's for school years 7 to 10, so children in year 7 and children up to year 11. It's on Thursdays from 7 till 8:30. And they had about 15 to 20 children last week, so it was really positive. So I know we've had questions here before actually about what we're doing for our youth and for our young people. So I really wanted to put that out there, that this is a combination of the new management, or not so new, they've been there for a year now, but the Sunray Community Centre, CIC, that have taken over the Sunray Community Centre, and Achieving for Children, who run it. So there are trained, qualified youth workers. So yeah, I think we can mention that as well. Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on then to our highways section. So we're going to move on to item 9, which is the planned highway maintenance and street lighting capital programme for 25 to 26. So first of all, we're going to identify that this is Appendix C. Yes, I pointed out Donaldwood Gardens is in King George's and Sunray Ward, and that was erroneously included in the Surbiton Neighbourhood Community Area. So that should also be in Annex 4 under the planned street lighting lantern replacement programme. So I'm going to invite George Vickers to present his report, and then we'll move on from there. Thank you, George.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of and I'm happy to take questions as we go along if that works. The purpose of the report is to detail the planned maintenance works for carriageway and street lighting carried out in 24-25, and to consult the neighbourhood committees on the planned maintenance programme for 25-26. The recommendation is the committee is asked to comment on the programmes relative to the respective neighbourhood as set out in Annex 2 and Annex 4 of the report. The overall aim of the programme is to try and use the funding that we've got for planned maintenance to try and keep the carriageway to an adequate state where possible by prioritising areas of need, and that has been a real big issue this year. as in previous years, we've tried to split it fairly equally between all of the 4 neighbourhood committees. But this year that's been problematic due to some of the levels of need that we've seen. And we've had to assess that based on the surveys and a number of other factors that we've been aware of this year. This is probably manifested most in this committee area, in that the roads in south of the borough are broadly a lot better than the other roads in the other 3 committee areas. And that's a reflection of why only 2 roads have been put forward in south of the borough this year. I'm happy to go into that in more detail if necessary. Basically, what we do every year, we inspect as many roads, or my senior plan maintenance officer, Gert Van Wyk, inspects a lot of roads throughout the borough, and visually and using a tool called Visala AI, which basically provides a score through a little app that you use on a phone, basically, and that's allowed us to rank the roads that he surveys, which was 938 this year, I think, basically in a list, and we've then used that along with other factors such as how heavily they're trafficked, levels of deterioration, trip generators, complaints from residents, complaints from councillors, to try and isolate down a programme based on the funding that we have. One of the things we did factor in this year is we've included footways, or we do include footways where we convert them from concrete ASP paving. Where south of the borough didn't get a footway last year, we've ensured that it has got a footway this year, as we just try and balance that out. In the case of the footways, we look at areas that have got concrete ASP paving, which is not typically used anymore. That's like a concrete flagstone, and that gets converted to a tarmac footway, completely reconstructed. The idea of that is because it's easier and cheaper to maintain tarmac footways than it is to maintain concrete paving footways, basically. So that is the logic behind that. In terms of the 2 roads that are put forward in south of the borough, basically what we've got put forward is Philby Road this year, which is where we did the Guilders roundabout last year as part of the 24-25 programme. So it's the continuation on from that. What's interesting here is it basically, on the annual surveys under Visala, it came in the top 7% worst roads surveyed in the borough this year, basically. For context, and to loop back into the point I made earlier, of the other roads surveyed in other areas, of 16 out of the 17 roads put forward in the 3 other committee areas scored worse than top 7%, basically. So there's a reflection that things aren't particularly good out there, and it's a longer term concern that we've got, that we're starting to see real levels of deterioration in carriageways across the borough, and that's something we want to look at, and possibly how we use this funding going forward. And we're happy to have meetings with councillors and chairs about that, to discuss that. But for this year, we've put a little bit more funding into carriageways than last year, and a little bit less into footways, to try and maintain what we've done from the recent years, and just to try and get a steady state going forward. Philby Road, though, is a continuation of work we've done this year. Basically, it was completed in the 3rd quarter, I believe, scored in the top 7%. Roebuck Road is an industrial estate, very busy, needs to be done. That also scored in the top 7% of the worst roads that were surveyed. For context, as we've tried to get an understanding of why south of the borough's roads are better than the other 3 committee areas, and at the moment all we can think of is possibly less traffic than some of the other areas, basically. As I thought there's possibly less roads in the south of the borough, but it actually surprised me. There's 89 kilometres pretty much of road in south of the borough, which breaks down very similar to New and Old Malden and Surbiton, basically, which both had a similar amount, around 90 kilometres of road. The only one that was substantially higher was Kingston, North Kingston, which had just over 110 kilometres of road, basically. So there doesn't seem to be a particular reason why the south of borough roads are in better condition, but that is just how it's come out from the surveys this year. So I'm happy to take questions. On the street lighting aspects of the report, Naz Islam, who's our principal engineer for street lighting, has discussed the approach they're taking with that. Basically, the idea is to try and keep all columns relatively new. So columns older than 30 years are getting replaced in residential roads. They have a testing programme annually, basically, and where something fails on the test, it gets flagged for replacement as soon as possible, basically. With the LED lantern conversion that they do, again, it's basically LED lanterns. It's a similar way to why we're converting concrete ASP paid footways to tarmac. It's basically, you've got a lower energy cost with LEDs basically over previous forms of lanterns. So the idea is to try and convert the borough to LED as much as possible. So that again is how the programme's targeted. Yeah, that covers off the points that I've got really, and I'm happy to take questions if anyone's got any.
Thank you, George. Do we have any questions or comments for the report? Okay, so I have a comment that I'd like to be recorded, please. So it's in relation to the LED lanterns. So I mentioned this to a councillor yesterday and he didn't know and I wasn't aware. So I just want it to be noted for residents as well as councillors that LED streetlights are not to light the pavements, apparently. They are to light the carriageways. And this surprises me because one of the effects of the positive side of using LEDs, which is that it's better for the biodiversity at night, is that purposely, because the lights are lower, there is some question about the effects that has on lighting the pavements which are behind the lights. So in our ward, for example, we've asked for piggyback lanterns so that the pavements are lit as well as the carriageways. And I would like the committee to consider and ask NAS what is the plan for ensuring that pavements across the rest of the borough are similarly lit for safety at night and in light of our White Ribbon campaign for safety for women and girls.
Absolutely fine. I'm happy to note that, basically. So it's a preference, where appropriate, for piggyback lanterns where possible, and to ensure footways are adequately lit throughout the borough in respect to the White Ribbon campaign.
I think it's to ask what is the plan to make sure that they are adequately lit. And in addition to that, when I spoke to Chris, who also was NAS's predecessor, I understood that the whole system was a new system, and until it had been rolled out across the whole borough, we didn't have the option to discuss with the contractors whether we could actually turn up the brightness slightly of the LED. So that's something that I'd like the team to come back on to us on as a solution to the pavement issue and resident safety. Is that an option?
That was a comment that was actually raised at Surbiton last night as well, basically about the potential of turning the lights up or turning them down. So yeah, absolutely fine, happy to raise that, not a problem at all.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to item 10, which I think Eunice, you have very patiently here in place of Helen, is that right? So we're going to move on to item 10, school street schemes for St Philip's and Ellingham schools. George, you're very welcome to go. I know you... Okay, all right, thank you very much. I don't want to get rid of you, but I know you're busy. No, you guys have been very busy with all three this week, day after day after day. So I just want to draw people's attention to the late material that is in relation to this, our stats that we have on the tables, and there are copies for residents if they'd like them. So you can find these details in Appendix D in terms of the report. So I'm going to ask Eunice to introduce the report, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Before I start, a couple of points, if I may. On D3, paragraph 16, there's a lot of X's. The X's, it means the first one, using traffic counters for a 1 week period of the 4th of January 2025 till the 10th of January 2025. That's just a correction because I'm afraid it's missing from the report. Thank you.
Mind just repeating that so Kevin can make a note again in the minutes, please? Sorry, we hadn't found our place.
Okay, the counters for 1 week period, the 4th of January 2025 till the 10th of January 2025. And I will come to that after when I talk about the comparison between before and after. South of the borough approved 2 school street for St. Philip's and Elegant Primary School. They approved the scheme on September 2022. And the scheme was for restriction school street between 8:15 till 9:15 a.m. and 2:30 till 3:30 during term, only Monday till Friday. On September 2023, the scheme is being implemented using experimental traffic management order. Would that mean the order only will last up to 18 months? So we are here today because we need to make the decision. And the decision is for members to consider the objection received, which already been outlined in paragraph 28 and 30 of this report. We received 4 objections, and actually 2 of them was not objection as much as inquiries, so we set them aside. The other 2 objections received, as clear on the comment received, the people feeling the scheme is unnecessary and is not meeting the need because they need to visit the parent or they need to visit their relative and they think that it's inconvenient for them. However, as we indicated in the report, we have a lot of which we can address this issue. So therefore, we ask residents always to contact us in order to see how we can help them in order to address their concerns. So therefore, before I ask members to approve the scheme, may I present you why we need to approve the scheme? We need to approve the scheme because the scheme did meet the objective what we want to achieve. So if you look to the late data in front of you, as you can see, for example, in 2023 in Harrow Close, between 7 till 10 a.m., we have 304 vehicles on Monday. But if you look on the 4th of January, 2025, it's been reduced to 172. So as you can see, there is a reduction about 40% of traffic. What that means, we are making the road quieter, safer, and it's better for kids to walk and cycle to school. And the same applies to Ellingham. As you can see, from 2023, it was 124, and it becomes 52 in 2025. It's about 60% reduction in that. Now, maybe you're going to ask the question, why we have more traffic in Harrow Close than we have in Ellingham? I think you need to bear in mind, when we introduce a school street, we have to allow the residents who live in the area access to the area. So if you look to the comparison between these 2 areas, you will find there is more resident lives in Harrow Close than there is in Ellingham Road. So therefore, the number is just reflecting on the resident to live in the area. But overall, the system, the scheme was really effective and addressed all the concern. We did do a Let's Talk, and which we received comment from residents. We have a lot of support, but unfortunately, during the period of Let's Talk, we had to move between 2 platforms. So therefore, there is a bit of gap between them. But however, we are satisfied that comment received is all support, and people are very happy of the scheme. And I can assure you, members, if our resident is not happy with the scheme, we'll know about it. So therefore, based on this information, I'm asking members to set aside the objections received and for us to proceed with making the traffic management order P333 and P334 to make them permanent, and any person who objects to this, we can respond to him and send them a copy of this resolution. I'm happy to take any questions, Chair.
Thank you. So just before with that, I have to formally basically just say what you've said again. So we need to move this from the chair to the following recommendation on page D1 of the report. So I'm asking the committee to resolve that. Number 1, the objections to the experimental traffic management order, ETMO, for Harrow Close and Ellingham Road school streets as set out in paragraphs 28 to 30 of the report be set aside. Number 2, that Harrow Close, P333, and Ellingham Road, P334, School Street ETMOs be made permanent and the necessary statutory processes be undertaken to make the orders permanent. And number 3, members of the public who made representations are informed of the committee's decision. So having done that formal bit, can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Kirsch, thank you. So would anyone like to speak on this? Councillor Dunstone, Councillor Kirsch, and then Councillor Dunstone. Thank you. And then Councillor Avalaka. Was that a hand? Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Just one point for, thanks for the report, Eunice. Just one point for clarification. I think you clearly showed how successful the scheme is in terms of reduction in traffic, and I mean that's really brilliant. But I think the oddity by Ellingham Road has less than Harrow is, not that in Harrow Close living more residents. Just for clarification, being correct, Harrow Close, you have Chester Hall Garden, which more people live than in Harrow Close, but they need to use Harrow Close. So hence we see more traffic numbers. So it's not more people living in Harrow Close, just before anybody goes, oh, this is wrong. So just to make that clarification. No, I'm really pleased about the data you presented, and generally how well the scheme is received. You also see in the numbers of the objections. It's not big time objections here, and I mean I'm glad that we had the very first School Street in south of the borough, and I think they are a success. And as an administration, we want to introduce them where they work and try to see more of them. And it's really heartening to see that. Obviously, they had such a big impact in reduction of traffic, which basically means, that really more children do actively travel to school, which is, again, something we want to encourage for their mental and physical well-being, as well as for their parents. And we're making the streets safer and obviously less polluted. We had issues with previously there with idling, massive issues where also if teachers alerted parents that they shouldn't idle in front of the school for, not just minutes, but quarters and half of hours. They got, not well received by some of the drivers. So, no, this is really for me a huge success, and I'm more than happy to approve the scheme. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kirsch. Councillor Dunstone.
Thank you, Chair. I was quite surprised at the numbers that could actually get into Harrow Close, if I'm completely honest. I mean, it's tiny. And it's great to see the reduction, because obviously the number of children that's affected and how dangerous that must have been around there is quite incredible. So I'm really pleased that we're looking at this now and moving forward. And I just wanted to make a comment that a resident actually stopped me to say thank you. For putting these in, because as residents of these roads, they get put through quite a lot, and we also, they live by a school, we'll just put up with it. But actually, these schemes are not only great for the children, but they're great for the residents, local residents as well. So I'm happy to let go the few objections towards it, simply because actually they can be overcome and are able to be overcome. So thank you.
Thank you, and that's great to hear that people are coming up to you and voluntarily saying this has made a difference and impact on them as well. That's really positive. Councillor Avalaka.
It's just to say thank you actually as well, because this, like Councillor Dustin and Councillor Kasha said, that the impact of this to the residents and even to the school, the children, the work, the parents, it's undeniable. So just thank you for taking this through, and I am willing to approve of it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a final comment. I think I was looking at these stats for Ellingham Road, one might look at them and think there hasn't really been much of a reduction in numbers compared to where we might see in other schemes. So I think it's really worth noting for the minutes that obviously the pupils who go to St Philip's School in Ellingham Road are more likely to have transport that brings them to and from school. So therefore, we would expect there to be the figures as they are, because those children need that accessibility and that service that the council provide to ensure that they can access this school, St Philip's, and be supported to do that. So I think that would be useful to comment for the minutes as well. And to echo, I think, I'm really proud that in south of the borough we had one of the first school streets, and we've been able to demonstrate that, the first, yeah. So it's before my time. So I mean,
My first school was the first.
So I think this is positive, and it shows that we are seriously considering the well-being of our next generation. So thank you very much, Highways team. So moving on then.
Can we approve it?
Yes, sorry, I have to actually formally do the formal bit. We've all said we want it, and then we actually have to formally. Thank you, Kevin. No, don't say apologise. So the resolution is: can I take this as unanimous, or does the committee wish to vote? So unanimously agreed for the minutes. Thank you very much, everybody. So item 11 is our work programme. This is just for noting. So this is the things that are coming up in the next. Highways team, just before you go, can we please make sure on this work programme, we've only got 30 seconds, so you might as well sit down. Literally 30 seconds. So can we please make sure that Jubilee Way cycle scheme is on here when we're going to discuss it, please, Eunice? Or do I need to ask you to comment on that?
If you want me to comment on that, I will. We are doing currently safety audit for the scheme. Then after that, we'll be going out for consultation. Then after that, we'll be bringing the report here for a debate, the result of the consultation.
Perfect. So it would be great to have an idea on here about what meeting that will be brought back.
We'll bring timeline for you next meeting
on here. Thank you very much. And item 12, urgent items, no urgent items. So I close this meeting at probably revolutionary time of 8:25. Thank you very much, everybody.